Hello, Micronauts. I am here to draw for you once again. And I'm going to draw one of our weapons of choice in the quest for finding microbes, which is the microscope. And actually, what I'm going to draw for you is a compound light microscope. Okay, so it's not particularly interesting, but there are a lot of parts that are helpful, and I'm going to draw basically without giving you much in the way of perspective, but just so that we have all the main parts there, so that if I show you a picture of a microscope on an exam, you will know where all the parts are. Okay, so doop, boop, and connect that down here, bring that up there, and okay. So, a couple of parts that I can draw in already. We have up here is where your eyes go. And these are the ocular lenses. There might just be one. Historically, you would look through, you would have monocular vision, and you'd be able to just look through one, and you'd have to kind of try and keep the other eye open and focus, or you could close the other eye. But nowadays, most compound scopes that you encounter will be binocular. So if you have just one, it would be one ocular lens, but let's say you've got two ocular lenses, and that's how we make the plural of lens. One lens, two lenses. Okay. And then underneath that, I'm just going to draw it kind of like this. And we're going to have a couple of different objective lenses. So this piece down here that rotates is called the nose piece. And this swivels around, and you've got your many, typically 4, then you might have 5 different types of what are known as objective lenses. And the objective lenses, typically they'll come in at, you might start off with like a 4x lens, and then have a 10x lens, and then maybe a 40x lens, and then maxing out at 100x. That's typically as much magnification as you can get, compounded with the ocular lenses, which are typically 10x, and there's a multiplicative effect between lenses. So the minimum magnification would be 40x, 4 times 10. The max would be 1000x, or 10 times 100. And yeah, so 4, 4x, 10x, 40x, those are used in just air, but with the 100x lens, due to the physics of light, that is the lens that we use with immersion oil. Immersion oil has a different refractive index, which helps the lens to gather more light, and it bends the light better up through the lenses, so that we can resolve things of that great intensity. And my doggo boy, Mr. Bretta, really wants to help me out here. Bretta, where are you? There you are. Are you helping? Say, not really, but you're very toot. Sweet boy. Okay, get down, Bretta. Go on. I'll play with you later. Okay, so other things that I have on here already. We've got these two knobs here. This knob here is going to be our coarse focus adjustment knob. And the other button that's kind of nested inside there typically is going to be our fine focus adjustment knob. So usually we use the coarse focus adjustment knobs on the lower power, so 4x, 10x. And then if our microscope is a good microscope that has been calibrated correctly using lenses that have all been specifically manufactured for whatever model of microscope we're using, then the lenses will be parfocal, meaning the focal length will stay the same no matter which objective lens we're using. So we shouldn't need to like screw around too much with the coarse focus adjustment as we get we get higher magnification. So if you use the coarse adjustment at 40x or 100x, you run the risk of putting your specimen through the stage and crushing your specimen, and that's not good. Okay. This bit here is called the arm or the handle. Typically, that's where you would grab the scope if you're going to move it around from one bench to another. You want to hold it securely because if you drop one of these things, it's a very expensive ouch for the microscope. So you don't want to do that. Okay, where's our specimen gonna be? Our specimen is gonna be here on this piece right there, which has underneath it that piece there, and kind of working our way from the bottom, or the top to the bottom. And okay, so this piece here where our specimen is found is called the stage. That's our microscope slide on there, which has our specimen on it. And the specimen and the slide are held to the stage by this thing, which is the stage clip. And the stage clip helps to hold the slide in place, and then we can adjust the position using these knobs here, which are the X, Y control knobs. So it's kind of like if you ever use an old-timey Etch-a-Sketch, one of them moves like in the X direction, the other one moves in the Y direction. So you can really smoothly maneuver your way, steer through your view of whatever is on the slide without having to like kind of shove it around along with your fingernail using your clumsy sausage fingers or whatever kind of fingers you have. It's a lot smoother if you use these XY control knobs. And this piece underneath there is called the diaphragm. Let's try again. P-H-R-A-G-M. Diaphragm, or the condenser. And this helps to regulate how much light is actually being sent up from the light source, which we're going to draw in down here, up through the specimen, through the objective lens, and through a series of prisms and mirrors through the ocular lenses. Because we don't always want to have the same amount of light going through. At lower magnification, we need less light. At higher magnification, we want the scope to gather more light. So we want to be able to regulate that. And it turns out that we can focus the cone of light through the specimen using that diaphragm and condenser. We can also use it to increase or decrease the contrast as needs be. Okay, speaking of the light source is going to be down here. Give it some bright, shiny, bright lines. So it's going to be our light source, which is adjustable, and I'll show you how we adjust it. We have a control for that. We typically find that within this piece down here, which is called the base of the microscope. And typically it rests on 4 rubber feet. It should rest securely, so whenever you touch the microscope or bump into it, you're not jiggling around, running the risk of damaging anything, having it rock back and forth. Okay, typically this is where we're going to find our on-off switch. And I've learned that this little thing, which hopefully recognizes like the power button or the on-off switch, is a stylized version of a 0 for off and a 1 for on. So there's the thing. And I think the last thing I'm going to draw on here, and this is not the same. These parts may move around depending on what model of microscope you're using, but this is a very common arrangement. You will have either a slider or a disc that you can use to control the intensity of the light. So this is your brightness adjustment. So again, at lower magnification, you need less light to get the same amount of, if you have too much light, you're not going to have contrast. You're also going to hurt your eyes because remember, when you are shining a light through a microscope, you are effectively shining that light into your eyes, even though there's something in between the light source and your eyes. It is, not healthy to, stare into bright lights as is not necessary. But also at lower magnification, you need less light to be able to see your specimen with the amount of contrast necessary to detect and resolve what you're seeing. Okay, so that's pretty much all the parts of the microscope that you're going to need to know when I show you a picture of a microscope on the exam, or more importantly, when you're in the lab and you're like, how do I get to see things through this microscope? Which you probably used before, but hopefully now this gives you a better sense of what the names of all the parts are.